Before Marvel Rivals, hardly anyone knew who Luna Snow was. Now, she's not just a fan favorite, but one of the most consistently strong supports in the game. She brings incredible healing, utility, and a unique playstyle that can dominate in the right hands. She took over by a storm. No, not that storm. We'll save that one for another day. I'll break down everything you need to know about Luna Snow, her kit, her best strategies, and the key tips to help you climb through every rank in the game. So first up, we have Luna's primary fire. She shoots 3 bullets that do 20 damage each. It also does 20 healing each. However, the healing does not have fall off, but the damage does. So if we look at this Panther here at 15 meters, we are dealing full damage here. So from here on, we will start losing fall off damage, and it'll max out at 60% once we get to 40 meters. So if we keep backing up, damage will lower. Here we have our ally Groot. If I hit him from here, he should heal 60 per shot. And even all the way back here, each shot will heal him for 60. So distance does not matter for heals, however for damage it does show. So next up we have Fate of Both Worlds, but I'll be referring to it as Dance. It'll heal you for 250 healing per second, or you can switch to Purple, which is 40% damage boost. It is also the same amount that Rocket's Amplifier does. And if you notice, when you activate this ult, you gain 250 overshields. So you have an effective health of 525 plus the 250 healing per second. This is great if you have a Magneto trying to throw a rock at you. So when you are dancing, you're also CC immune. You can tell by the golden border around your health bar, and when you see it's golden around the health bar, it means nothing can stun you. Not even Doctor Strange or Jeff. And when you initially activate your ult, it'll do 200 instant healing. Next up, we have our clap ability. This ability lets you clap as many times as you want in 6 seconds. If you also notice in the bottom left, I'm very low on ammo, but when I activate it, I'll have infinite and it'll reload my primary once it exits. Each clap does 50 damage to enemies and also does 75 healing to allies. It also pierces through enemies and allies. Next up, we have Snowflake. You can place your Snowflake on allies, and whatever healing you do will also go to that ally who has the Snowflake active. 35% of the healing you are doing goes to that ally. So if I heal this Groot for 100 HP, this bot here will gain 35. Another benefit of the clap ability is every time you pop it, you will heal for 30 healing per second for 3 seconds. So that's 90 HP overall. You also get that same effect with Snowball. So if you throw out your Snowball, you'll heal for 90 damage over 3 seconds. Next up, we have our Snowflake ability. This ability is a projectile, so that means it has to travel. It's not instant like your primary. Whenever you freeze an enemy, they are frozen for 2.7 seconds, but for the first half a second, they will not be unfrozen. So you can get an extra hit in. However, after the first half second, you can hit them and they will unfreeze. So keep that in mind. So now we're going to look at Luna's passives. The first one is called Smooth Skate. After running for half a second, you will start to skate faster at a faster speed, and then whenever you jump, it'll be at an increased height. However, you can keep your momentum after a jump. So you can just keep jumping if you really wanted to. But if you start shooting or using abilities, it'll cancel, so you'll have to wait that extra half a second again. You can also use it to get to places you normally couldn't get to, like this. Our next passive is called Cryo Heart. We briefly talked about this earlier, but whenever you cast Snowball, you'll heal for 90 HP over 3 seconds, and same with your clap. The reason why you heal is because of this passive. So one of the team ups that Luna has is with Jeff the Lion Shark. It's called Icy Disco. It gives Jeff an ability where he can spit out ice balls. Each area that Jeff spits on will slow down the enemies at a huge AoE effect. Another team up Luna has is with Iron Fist. It is called Frozen Chi that gives Luna a brand new ability. This ability allows you to do an AoE effect that heals you, throws enemies back, and slows them down. The Icy Disco team up also gives Namor an Ice Squid that slows down enemies, has more HP, and also does some serious damage. Assemble! One of the best ways to rank up is to stop focusing only on ranking up. When you play with the sole goal of climbing, you often stunt your own growth and tilt a lot more often. But if you shift your mindset to learning, improving, and actually enjoying the game, you'll find yourself climbing higher than you ever expected. Just like we covered earlier, your damage has a fall off range, however your healing does not. Do not be afraid to sit a little more back if you have to in order to provide more value to your team. If you're playing in dangerous spots, you are taking a risk you do not have to be taking. Another tip is if you place your snowflake on a target and heal them, they will heal 35% faster, so you can save your tank if they're about to die. A good idea for snowflake is to place it on teammates who are always playing flank or dive characters, so you can enable them to do a lot more. Characters like Spider-Man, Black Panther can benefit greatly from it. It's also not the worst idea in the world to place it on another DPS that you don't want to look at in the middle of battle. Since their hitbox is smaller, you have a higher chance of missing. So if you put it on a DPS and heal your tanks, you're also keeping your DPS up. It also works amazing for characters like Hela because you're allowing them to go off and play on off angle, so they can provide a lot more value to your team without the risk of blowing up. If you notice that they have divers, try not to use your abilities before they attack you. If you can land your snowball, you can pretty much line up your headshots and get a free kill or force them out. And if you miss your snowball, you'll have your clap to heal yourself and also get them. If your team is critical and you need to heal multiple targets at once, activate your clap to heal them and it will allow you to damage their attackers as well. And again, don't forget about your passive that allows you to self-heal off using your own abilities. This one might sound like a silly tip, but I've seen this more times than I should have. But do not stand still when you're ulting. You are still killable with burst damage, so if you want to heal one area, don't stand still and instead move in circles. If you use the information I've given you up till this point, you should have a better time climbing through silver. Now let's go on to gold. From here on out, one of the most important things you can do as a support is not die. And no, I don't mean play for KD and start to hide. You need to play in safer positions and use your abilities to keep yourself alive. If you are dying early in a team fight, then your team will severely struggle. You need to start getting comfortable with your ability usage and the rotation. If you do alright, you can keep the uptime of your regeneration high, and if your regeneration time is high, then your HP is high. And if that is high, then your chances of death are low. Try not to panic and use all your abilities at once, but also don't be afraid to use them if you have to. Also, don't sleep on the fact that Luna does decent damage per burst at a high fire rate. So if you have a chance to break deployables like squids, runes, onks, go for it. But not if your team is on the verge of death. You should also be keeping your eye out for hero interactions. For an example, Captain America isn't a super commonly used character, but if he runs in your face, be careful about your snowball usage, because if he has his shield up, it can bounce off his shield and you'll end up freezing yourself. Because your ultimate makes you CC immune, you are the best support to react to ults like Doctor Strange or the Thing. As soon as you hear "by the eye of Agamotto," you can activate your ult and you will not be stunned. And because you're not stunned, you can also keep your teammates alive during it. And if the team tries to burst your team down, you can also use your own body to take damage and keep them up. The other supports like Loki or the Invisible Woman need to press at least 2 buttons to activate their ult, but you don't, so that puts you at an advantage. You should also start getting a little more consistent with your primary fire accuracy. Doom matches is a great place for Luna to practice ability cooldown usage and winning your 1v1s. It can also be a great spot to practice aim if you don't want to play quick play. Now on to Plat. If your movement is predictable or you tend to walk in straight lines, you will be punished for that. So try to move in more unpredictable patterns. If you're trying to jiggle peek things, you won't have much success in this game because of movement acceleration. However, if you move in a circle, you can actually do it. You can also do infinity patterns if you're feeling a little bit more fancy. If you see an enemy support ult go up, try to wait an extra second or two so that you can have a better dance. Yours will be better because theirs will end faster, so your team will have an advantage once theirs goes down. Overwatch players might remember a similar concept with better beat. You should also start getting comfortable dealing damage and knowing when to do damage and when to heal. Heal botting as Luna is a very bad habit that a lot of people need to break in order to excel in ranked. If your team is at full HP, you don't have to be shooting them waiting for them to take damage. You can go out of your way and shoot the enemy and help your team secure kills. But if your team is on critical, you can't afford to be doing damage. You need to keep them up as well. You need to start creating plans in your mind. What do you want to do? What do you want to react to? Does the Strange have ult? Do you want to try to freeze it? Do you want to ult it? If they decide to run you down, how do you want to escape? When your ult ends, where do you want to go? All of these are questions you should be asking yourself before the fight starts. Another tip for Luna ult is to let your team know when your ult is about to end, and around the 2-second marker try to slowly back yourself out to be in a good spot for when the ult does end. If you're in the center of a team fight when it ends, you will just blow up, but if you're in a better position, you can keep playing. Now we're going to get into some more serious ranks, and now we're heading to Diamond. A major thing you can do once you start ranking up is to communicate with your other support. You two need to be on the same page and be able to carry each other and synchronize your ults. If you both ult at the same time, it will cause a lot of damage to your team's ult economy. Your team's ultimate economy will be struggling since the enemy team can just hit you with offensive ults and there's nothing you can respond with. When your ult is active and you're actually winning the fight and your team is really healthy, you can afford to swap to damage boost and help your team carry the fight and clean up whatever enemies are left over. However, if you notice your teammates are taking a lot of damage, swap back to healing as fast as you can. If a teammate dies while you're ulting, you will be flamed, and it is a big mistake you should never do. If you've built your ultimate and your other support hasn't, you can focus a little bit more on damage so that they can build theirs faster. However, you should communicate this so that they're on the same page. Dealing damage as Luna is also a great way to build your ult faster than your opponents. Whenever you activate your clap, try to line yourself up to hit as many enemies and allies with your claps. But where do you have to stand for that line to get maximum value? If you also get a big freeze with your snowball, make sure you ping it and comment to your teammates so they can help you finish the kill if you can't do so by yourself. I briefly talked about this before, but you really don't need to be sitting on the front lines. Just sit far back enough to where your team can peel you and not forward enough to where the enemy team can hit you for free. You want to be an arm's reach away from your team, just not directly on top of their head. A little optional tip for climbing fast is if you can find yourself a Namor duo, then games will be significantly easier for the both of you, as the Ice Squid's team up is insanely strong and you can shut down dive, which in return makes support's time a lot easier, and the Luna can damage boost the Namor ult to end enemy support ults. It also enables the Namor to go on crazy flanks and get free picks for your team. Just use all this information and try your best and you'll be climbing in no time. Now on to Grandmaster. When you activate your ultimate, you will have 250 extra health, so you can use this to save yourself from attacks such as Magneto ults, as the overhealth will give you enough to survive. Now we're going to cover aggressive ults, aka the damage boost. The way damage boost works is based on when the attack is going to land, so it doesn't have to be active when something is cast. So if you see Namor pop his ultimate and you swap to damage boost right before it hits the ground, it will be enough to kill any squishies in the range. So if you see your teammates going for a big attack, you can quickly flash the damage boost and help them out. This tip is in Grandmaster and not Diamond because you need to be very good at knowing the states of your teammates, and if they're gonna die or not if you swap to this. If you are not careful, you can throw the fight by having your teammates die. Around here, people will also get better at trying to shut down your ult, so if you see a Magneto look at you with his ult active and your shields are broken, try to move around a little more unpredictably and around them so it's harder for them to punish you. You need to start reading the enemy's playstyles to know if they are coming for you. If you notice they have a flanker or a diver and you are prepared for them and put up a fight, there's a good chance they will start to focus your other support instead, and you can help them out. If you are playing very smart, you will not be as big of a target for them. You can just scare them off with your aura. Keep your eye out for choreographed ults like Doctor Strange, since you can freeze them out of it. You can also cancel many ults with a well-timed freeze, so do your best to ult track. If someone did an ult the fight before, they're very likely to have it in the upcoming fight. By this point, you should be getting very comfortable with all the concepts I've introduced so far, and you will be needing them for the next rank. Now on to Celestial. In these lobbies, you will start running into players who understand their characters at a deeper level. Luna ult is based on line of sight, and good tank players know that. So you might notice characters like Doctor Strange getting in your face while dancing. It may look silly at first, but the Strange is actually trying to cut off your healing to anyone who's behind him, so that his team can quickly get a pick. If you notice that this is happening, you need to position yourself and move around him in ways that make it difficult for the Strange. In this rank, you should also start seeing more solid Loki players, and at the current time, Loki and Luna are one of the best support lineups. If you have a Loki on your team and notice they have their ultimate, try to play in a location to where the Loki can copy you easily. If you see someone on your team pick Jeff as a third support, don't worry too much about it since they're probably DPSing. The team up enables Jeff to cause so much chaos to the enemy and will give Jeff so many free kills over time. This tip can also apply to the lower ranks. It just requires the tanks to be listening to comms and not troll. But if a fight is about to start and you're close to your ult, but not quite there, you can tell one of your tanks to peek and take some damage so that you can get the last bit of your ult charge so your team is ready for the upcoming fight. Hesitation will lose you fights, so you really need to work on not hesitating. If you want to ult or not, you need to have it planned beforehand. If you see your team is in danger and hesitate to pop your ult, then that half second can cause a teammate to die. You will get better at this but with experience, but this is a vital skill. You also need to have your mechanics down by this point. If you're consistently missing your primary fire and snowballs, then you really need to hone it in and practice for it to where it becomes more comfortable. If you're really serious about climbing in this game, you will need to be putting in the time in Celestial, especially if you want to hit Eternity. And speaking of Eternity, we're going to be covering that now. As I mentioned in the Loki guide for Eternity, you need to be executing and following all the previously mentioned tips near flawlessly. And the biggest thing here is consistency. You need to be performing the best you can almost every game. We're human and have bad games every here and there, but you need to minimize that. A big thing is to have strong mental and not letting baggage from previous games carry over. If you had a bad game or toxic players from the game beforehand, you can't let that come with you into your next match. Or else you're just going to end up snowballing yourself or end up in a tilt queue, and that's not going to be helping anybody. By this point, you should have near instant response to ults like Doctor Strange just by audio and visual cues. And ult tracking should also be setting you up to maybe even Frieza. A lot of the other supports require an activation, which makes it very hard for them to instantly respond. Like Loki and Invisible Woman have an extra second of activation, however you don't. Since you are playing back, you are seeing the entire field and what is happening. You should be able to identify and maneuver what space belongs to your team, and be able to identify what belongs to the enemy team and what area is being fought for. You need to be able to move in and out of space based on ownership to maximize your team's presence, since it's a big factor that can help your team win the fight. And that wraps up our Luna Bronze to Eternity guide. Whether you're climbing through Bronze or pushing for Eternity, mastering her kit and decision making is key. If you found this helpful, drop a like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.